What's going on, everyone? It's your boy Audie here today to share some gems from my personal experience, working in client-facing roles. I've had the chance to work in client-facing customer success roles, across early-stage startups, big companies. I've seen a couple things, and to me, here's what I would tell myself if I was starting in a role where I'm working with clients directly. Three things specifically. The first one would be to create space, right? I think a lot of times when we're working, we're tasked with deadlines, we have key things that we need to get done, but very rarely do we intentionally take the time to really just get to know who we're working with, right? That goes whether that's for coworkers or especially folks on the client side, right? The details of, what they're interested in, where they're from are as equally important as, what are their objectives? What are they trying to solve by using your service or product? So really taking the time to get to know your stakeholders is extremely important, and that'll actually help you move mountains when it's time for, like that big demo, driving renewals, or even, this de-escalating a situation that could have gotten pretty significant had you not had that personal relationship. So I would definitely say make sure you're creating space, whether that's, once a month, once every couple of weeks, definitely a couple times a quarter. Find that time to just check in human to human and see, how they're doing, because again, especially with how AI is moving, that human touch is going to be very, very important moving forward. The second would be to really just, reduce the surprises. I think clients especially, they value having less surprises. So, whether it's good news or bad news, saving that and being proactive and sharing that ahead of time is usually well received and appreciated. Definitely make sure, unless it's a grand slam and you've solved all their problems, I would definitely let them know ahead of time if there's something that is going to cause a problem, there's a fire, or just something that they would rather hear that sooner than later. And then the last one I would say is really just focus on understanding the why. I think a lot of times, this applies to just internal stakeholders too, but, clients specifically, whether it's from their direct leadership, from what they've read on the internet, they have, presumptive thoughts or just, pre-made thoughts that they think that, hey, this is the best way to do something, so we want to have this product request or this feature request will ultimately help us get there. When in reality, sometimes is you just have to take a step back and, ask why 5 times to really understand, what are we currently doing? Like, what is the gap with what we're currently doing? Why is there a current gap? What exactly are we hoping to achieve with this proposed change? And how does that make life better? Right? Essentially, you just want to get to understanding, truly what is the job to be done that they're looking to achieve? Why are they looking to achieve it? How and why is it important that they achieve it? And what happens when they achieve it, right? And so a lot of times by having those types of conversations, you understand that you actually understand what is table stakes for them and why it's important to, either iterate on the product, share that feedback with the team, or there might even be a workaround with what you guys are currently doing that can help them achieve that. So really just, again, understanding why you're doing things or why do they need to have a certain solution or a proposed change is super, super helpful. And the last thing, just as a bonus tip I've learned, is really just, again, figuring out what is the preferred method of communication. I know it's a simple thing, but, some folks, they like just a quick phone call. Some folks really appreciate audio notes. Some folks appreciate, like a video call. Some folks are just simple. They want to email, right? Or they prefer email. And so I think figuring out what exactly is preferred, with your client will be super important and will do wonders for that relationship, throughout the time that you work with them. So figuring out what that is and really just tailoring how you communicate to them is really important. And, that also goes, the second layer to that is really depending on who you're working with, the level of seniority. Like for, leadership folks, they really care about outcomes, like how does this affect my bottom line or, like sentiment versus, maybe folks that you're working with on like the more operational level, they care about all the nitty gritty details. So, figuring out how you can really tailor what you're talking about to who is going to be super important. And the last one I would say is just have fun. I think I personally have gained a lot of skills and experiences by working with clients. And so understand that it's a fun position to be in. It's a privilege to be in that position. And your focus is to really drive as much value as you can. And so those are my gems. Would be curious to hear, what other people have had tons of experiences and advice they'd share for other folks who are embarking on a new role where they're working with clients.